Hello and welcome to Grumpy Gamers. You're here with me, Pete, and along with me this week I have Ben.
Hello.
Eddie.
Hello.
Kirk.
Hello.
And hold back your surprise because we also have Lyle from Gods
Hello there.
Great to have you with us.
It's great to be here. At least at the moment, it's great to be here. We'll see how it goes as the recording continues. But yeah, it's nice to join you for this fun, special crossover event.
Yes, indeed.
It's good to have you.
5 minutes before it becomes less great to be here, but you know we can all try.
Firstly, Kirk's here. Let's put that down to
2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Ooh, fuck you, Eddie.
We're already being welcoming. Yeah. Yes, indeed. But first off, I think we should say a big thank you to Mr. Llama Fluff on Twitter, shouldn't we? Because he is the one who suggested this.
He did.
I think so, because he mentioned it, and then you followed up on it, didn't you, Lyle?
Yeah, I just thought I'd send a message. I thought, I can probably take a couple of hours or however long, or maybe less, from my busy schedule to grace everyone.
We were thinking they'd never do that. No one would ever join us. And you know what? Stranger things have happened. Eh?
Joe, I got to say, fucking love Llama Fluff. He brings people together. He really does.
Yeah,
quite
literally has. Yeah. So,
and also Ben, you may have had that thought. I thought he might want to do that, and then he'll listen to us and go, "Nah, actually." On second thought, but
they don't stack up. Yeah. Now we put them side by side. No.
What does Fluff see in them?
Exactly. Hopefully not.
But it does add some actual legitimacy to our podcast. I think
let's not go too far.
Sometimes we are on the border. So okay, here we go.
Fantastic! What a good way to pump us all up for the show, Ben. Love that. But I suppose the first thing we should do for anyone who has been living under a rock and doesn't know you, Lyle, do you want to do a little intro?
Sure, why not? My name is Lyle. I write for a website called godisageek.com, and I do reviews, previews, list articles, a bit of everything. I'm on the podcast most weeks. If you've not checked out godisageek.com, you probably should, because I think we're pretty good. I think everyone there's all right, and you can trust me. I'm not biased at all.
Yeah, see, Ben, that's what we're meant to say about our team. But
how come he's so... Yeah, fuck you,
Well,
Ben.
it wasn't exactly that positive. He said everyone on their team, he thinks everyone is all right.
Yeah, that's a lot better than what you
I
said.
say about you.
You said we're basically not legitimate.
Well, we're borderline. I said borderline, that's all right.
Okay,
that's on the cusp.
No one wants to be on the borderline. No one wants to be on the border.
Be on one side or the other. That's
I
it.
fear we're veering into politics here, guys. But still, moving past that, though, and back to Lyle, I did just want to ask one question of you about the reviews, Lyle.
Sure.
Which is, Curse to Golf. Is it really a 7.5?
I think it's about a 7.5. Yeah, I liked it quite a bit, but it has a few issues. It's definitely an enjoyable game if you're into roguelikes, because it does lean quite heavily on the roguelike side, and it's maybe a bit less on the golf side. It's more, if you've played Super Stickman Golf, for example, it's kind of similar to that, but with roguelike elements. But yeah, it has a few issues at the very start and the very end of the game that kind of knock it off course from being better than a 7.5. But it's a good game.
Fair enough. I really want to play it, so I think that's enough for me to give it a go. I think that was why I was very interested in that one.
I think the bad thing was that we incorrectly said it was on Game Pass last week, so I think we probably built you up, Pete, and then...
is it not on Game Pass?
It's not on Game Pass.
Fuck you, Ben.
Yeah, I sold you a dummy.
Our commitment to accuracy really hit us hard there.
I thought
the legitimacy was questioned.
You can trust us.
I actually thought it was on Game Pass because I listened to last week's episode.
Yes.
Borderline. It's borderline.
But if it makes people feel better, I literally turned on Game Pass on that day, I'm going to play Curse. Oh, god damn it!
Ben, you edit the show the same day. You could have fixed that. Never mind.
Yeah, but no.
Well, before we dive into a format that is not our usual format, we should also probably mention streaming on Thursday, shouldn't we?
Yeah, it's so we streamed last Thursday again.
Did you
we
win
streamed
another one?
Warzone. We did.
we
We
did.
did win a. Yeah, we did, and we put it on YouTube. Yeah, you can
we
watch our watch our win. I think we might be doing it this Thursday. We are going to start mixing up our streams again, so we get some single player games going. Just to get it mixed up for people that aren't so into Warzone, and to get some random people dropping into the chat. That would be nice, because Warzone is very saturated. But we're having a lot of fun, aren't we, Eddie?
Yeah, I'm loving it. Absolutely loving it.
So we might continue doing them in some capacity, whether it's on the Thursday or whatever. But yeah, we'll keep on going. And so Thursday, 7 p.m, we'll be streaming again on Grumpy Gamers Podcast on Twitch.
Fantastic. But for this week, we are actually abandoning news, new releases, and what we've been playing, thank God, because I've not played much again, to just focus entirely on a feature, which seemed the best option to make use of Lyle's presence as well, because the question we're going to ask is, has 2022 been a bad year for gaming?
What a great emotive question that was.
Exactly.
see, I'm going to have that in the title of the episode as well, and people are going to be like, those guys don't know what they're talking about.
Massive
because we got Lyle. We got Lyle, so it's going to be fine.
Now we've got legitimacy.
When he turns around halfway through and goes, first off, no, what are you talking about? Your question was incredibly leading. We'll all agree.
Yeah, exactly. But by that time, people have already downloaded the podcast, so it's all right. Hopefully. But I suppose we should start off with a little bit of an overview on the year so far. It feels weird saying this in August, but Game of the Year is not too far away, is it? And the Game Awards as well. Yeah, we've got Gamescom this week, haven't we?
Yeah, seeing as it's still sweltering here, it's quite surprising that this is getting so close. But
yeah, to be honest, like this month, then in the next month, there's quite a few events and things popping up, and we're expecting a Nintendo Direct, and there might be another PlayStation showcase. So it might be like a second kind of E3-esque season coming up, and that's going to see us into the end of the year. So it might be. Very good.
Is this just a delayed E3? Is that the point? If they're just like, this is the stuff.
Well, yeah. To be honest, like it was hardly like the PlayStation presentation and Nintendo's presentation were anything special, were they? So they need a big one, and it could be now.
Actually, that's a good question, because we've obviously talked a lot on this one about our views on it. But Lyle, what was your thought on the E3 season this year, and Summer Games Fest in particular?
This is an interesting one, right? Because I definitely think that from the sort of like AAA space, I think a lot of people were disappointed. But I personally end up playing a lot of and enjoying, usually more than the AAA games, like a lot of indie stuff. And I feel like Summer Games Fest had like more indie games than anyone could ever feasibly maybe even watch the trailers of, let alone play. Yeah. So like I was quite satisfied, but like I can see that if you're someone that, you know, is more into the bigger budget, wanting to play the next big thing, that you'd be disappointed. Yeah, like it's depending on what side of it you come from, there's definitely an easy sense of disappointment. Yeah.
An easy sense of disappointment, is it? Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I suppose for me, and I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again because I want to, Elden Ring really oversold Summer Games Fest last year, and then this year they just couldn't keep up with that, could they?
There just wasn't a thing. There wasn't like when your big reveal was The Last of Us.
Oh, that got spoiled as well.
And it got spoiled, like a day before it, and you're like, oof. It's a bit of a rough one where the expectations were so high, and if you actually look at it like on its own as an event, I think we said at the time, like, it's cool, like these events are cool, and we enjoyed each one for what they were, but because it was in that E3 season, you do get that kind of hype, and you do think a bit that they're going to be a bit better than they actually turned out to be.
Yeah, I really wish it would be. Wish they would be anyway. But no, I suppose we should move on from that, because that was just an offhand question. And yes, Ben, you raised the point of delays already coming around. But we are getting to the business end of the year anyway. There are still a few releases coming. And then it really is the end. I mean, we've got The Last of Us in, 2 weeks? Is that right?
Yeah.
Really
yes,
soon,
it's in start of September. We've also got Splatoon 3 coming out
a week after. Yep.
So we've got some good ones.
Yeah, Ben's sorted at least, of everyone.
Yes.
Ben's completely sorted. And I mean, A Plague Tale Requiem's still to come as well, and we've got a few other things beyond that as well. Scorn's still there too, isn't it?
Pokemon as well.
Yeah.
Pokemon's coming.
God of War.
So, yeah, God of War. Yeah. The big
Should probably mention that one.
Yeah, you can tell who doesn't play PlayStation here.
I'm waiting for
Yeah.
Blood Bowl 3 because they said it was coming out in 2022, but they still haven't bloody got a release date.
I think you might be left waiting for that one.
Yeah, but they announced it ages ago, so surely it should have been sometime in 20... No, I believe.
You need to start voicing that opinion more publicly, Eddie, because you're probably the only person who's
Ben,
really chomping the bit for it.
in your own words, there's been 2 other of them, so it must be a good game. All right? There you go. Use your own logic against you.
That's true.
I've played Blood Bowl 2, and that logic doesn't check. But yes, but the news is still dominated by the delays, and we are talking obviously about Hogwarts for one, Starfield, which is even bigger.
Yeah. Let's get to the bigger one.
Yeah, Redfall. I mean, Gollum, Knights of the Old Republic, which is not just delayed; it's sort of floating face down in the water with vague bubbles. And the day before are all pushed to next year, aren't they? So,
Yeah. I think this has been the year of the big delays, hasn't it? And I think that's kind of where this question started in the first place, because a bad year for gaming, that's the title, but no matter how good things are, you're always wanting that next thing, and so many things have been pushed. And I know it's coming off the pandemic, and it's kind of each year has been pushed on, but that's the thing that kind of leaves a sour taste. And it's probably about, I think we read an article in GameSpot that it's about 60 games have been delayed this year.
yeah.
Which is mental.
Yeah, I feel like that's quite believable though when you think about it. When you really think about how many times you hear something's delayed, yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it does add up.
Yeah, it really does. And there are some other games that have been delayed just a month, so they're still coming out this year, but they've just been pushed a little bit. Everything's being delayed, and it is more acceptable to have delays now post Cyberpunk. But it's mental out there.
Oh, we forgot Forspoken. I think some people were excited about Forspoken.
Shit, yeah.
Some,
Got delayed.
yeah, some people, Lyle.
Some people.
Small handful.
I don't know any of them personally, but they're probably there.
Yeah, you're right. That did get pushed, didn't it? And it's.
It had to move out of the way, didn't it?
Well, yeah.
It did. It did have to move out of the way. Yeah.
But I suppose the reason I brought us onto delays in particular is because I think this year is being defined more by the games that are delayed than the games that are released at this stage anyway.
That's a good point.
I mean, like, the game I was looking forward to most at the beginning of the year obviously came out, but I was expecting it in 2021. And then the game I was most looking forward to this year, Starfield, is pushed. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I mean, Ben, I know you're pumped for Starfield. You also love the look of Redfall and Hogwarts, though. So,
Absolutely.
and Lyle, you've said you like indies a lot, but surely a couple of these are ones you were looking forward to as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the ones I were most excited about, I think the one I'm probably most excited about on that list we read out then is probably Knights of the Old Republic, and I didn't think that was coming out this year anyway, so it's not something that's been too big for me. I mean, I think the delays in general feel maybe, and I guess a lot of the reason why some people feel bad about this year in general, I feel a lot of it is quite Xbox focused, if I'm honest. I feel like there's one company that if you're arguing for is this a bad year in gaming, like I don't think we can argue that, and I'm sure we will very soon, but I don't think you can argue has this been a bad year for Xbox, because I think we'd all just say yes.
That's a very good and very aggressive point in a place called
I don't know.
Game Pass.
Kirk likes to defend Xbox no matter what.
I mean,
Go on, Kirk.
Well, I mean, it has been pretty dire, to be fair. But you know,
I'm telling Daddy Spencer.
but don't you dare! Don't you dare! But
He wants a follow on Twitter, so you can't tell him.
yeah, I need that follow, Eddie. Don't do it. So obviously, we've been through this tons and tons. Any AAAs and any good first party offerings from Xbox have just been shit, but they have kind of just ticked it along with the offerings on Game Pass and just being so aggressive with how they are with pushing that forward. So it doesn't excuse anything, but it does keep them in the spotlight somewhat, and just because of the sheer amount of offering they're giving, you know.
Without Game Pass, they probably would be in a very dark
different place.
Totally.
But even with the PS Plus stuff coming out, that also just diminishes Game Pass slightly in terms of what they had there. In terms of, I thought Xbox were incredible place to kind of push on. But now this year kind of has made them lose ground, I think, in what they were trying to build internally. Not even comparing to other companies, just what they were kind of building. And it is a bit of a shame. But saying that, it means that they should theoretically have a very big 2023.
Yeah, it feels like
we said that last year.
I have been saying this
pushed back.
loads. Yeah, like it just feels like Xbox buys a billion game companies and just like absorbs all these studios. And every time they do, I'm like, God, in like a couple of years, it's going to be great. And we've just not had that great year yet.
Never had it. Yeah.
But it is going to happen.
Like E3.
2026,
like 4 years ago or something, right? Which was they bought loads. They just said all these studios they bought. You're like, wow, they're gonna make all these games and stuff. I remember because they bought Ninja Theory like ages ago. And oh wow, things are gonna happen, and then just nothing has really happened for ages.
What it does mean though is we've said this before. It's going to get to a point, and it will, where we get a big hitter every month. Like it's going because they're just lining up now, aren't they? With the time. So
theoretically,
we should get banger after banger, but we need a banger first.
But Kirk, what will happen? Oh, go on.
I was just going to say, well, they did that whole thing with their conference recently, didn't they? Where they went, well, all the great games that are coming in the next 12 months, not this year. Don't you dare think about this year. But
yes,
it does make 2023 look appealing for Xbox. Like you kind of have to admit, hopefully, right? This is the one.
Yeah.
Someday
Hopefully.
it's got to be. And I imagine, this is the thing, even if they do say there's one every month, they'll all get delayed to February. That's what we're learning. That is the way it's going at the moment. Because look at the February we had this year. And let's be honest, we can all, I think, say that February was a win across
February
the
was
board.
a monster, wasn't it?
Absolute monster. Obviously, Elden Ring was in there. Obviously, for me, Warhammer Total War was in there. So that was...
Oh yeah, I forgot Total War was in there.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus! Wow. But it started off with Sifu actually.
It did.
Like that was the banger at the start of the month that kind of went under the radar. We had Horizon. We also had Dying Light 2.
Jesus.
It was just big game after big game.
Mm-hmm. And
if anything, that went against those games.
Yes, a little bit. And I mean, I think even the devs at Horizon made a massive point about that, didn't they? Because they reacted badly to everyone celebrating Elden Ring.
Yeah, I mean, well, they kind of lost Breath of the Wild first time round. So
Yep.
It's a tough break for Horizon. I mean,
just pick your release window better, guys.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Everything's getting delayed anyway. You could have moved it. But yeah, and I suppose the key thing with that is it does feel a very long time ago, though. And as I said at the beginning, I kind of look at a lot of them as almost 2021 releases.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's fair.
But everything's getting put. That February though was I mean, I've never known anything like it. Lyle, do you know? Can you think you've probably got a better memory because you're covering this stuff like all the time? Has there ever been a month that was that stacked?
Not in the time I've been covering games, no, I don't think so. I'd say maybe there was quite a big month towards the end of like around when the PS5, Xbox Series X stuff sort of started to release. I remember there was a lot of like, was there not like Assassin's Creed, and Watch Dogs Legion, and like the Demon Souls remake and stuff. I think there was quite the end of that year was pretty packed. I remember backstage at God is a Geek it being quite hectic. Because I was quite new to the site then, or fairly new, so I was getting some quite big games very suddenly, which I was pretty happy about. Because there was not enough room for all of them. So yeah, that's sort of the only other big time I remember. But I still don't think it was anything on this February.
Yeah, and to be fair, I suppose we are used to that sort of end of the year being the key stage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and this is why it feels to me like, because it's been such a long time since that February, and because we've not really had much since in the AAA space, there's an awful lot of pressure on the few games we've got left that are in that space. And particularly pressure to come out on time.
Well, people's memories are short. That's the key thing here. Like February feels like another lifetime ago, and you're all up in it when it actually happens, and this is amazing. But then you get a few months where, you're focusing on different games. Your indies come out, and there aren't these bigger games, or you get a lot of delays come through, and then suddenly the question is asked, well, what have we got? And a lot of questions were around God of War for a long time, weren't they? I mean, when they released the date, that was a big thing, but we all thought that there was a possibility that God of War could get pushed as well.
Yeah.
It felt very
was the big
possible, didn't it?
I mean, in some quarters, they still think it's possible.
I mean, I'm kind of on the border of that quarter.
I was originally, but I think it's coming. Sony aren't going to not. They can't afford to.
Fair. Yeah.
Well, it's a big one. Like I don't know why they would have set a date if they weren't at least half sure that it was going to happen. So that's the main one there. But yeah, I think we have a lot of games coming out now. Like even Saints Row's come out, which people were looking forward to. Or Kirk, you were even looking forward to.
I was going to say,
right?
Kirk.
I was.
And the reviews have not been great.
They've not been favourable. No.
not been favourable. Have you played it, Lyle, or do you know?
I've not played it, but I have heard from colleagues, multiple colleagues who did not say nice things about it. I believe someone said that it was the biggest disappointment they'd played this year, and it was making them sad to play it. So,
Oh shit!
Oh, that's amazing.
This was one of the only games that I was even remotely interested in, and now it's gonna go and die a death. Brilliant.
Yeah, are you not interested in it at all now, Kirk?
Not a case I'm not interested at all. I'll have to do some more deep dive research into it and maybe watch some gameplay, see other reviews and stuff. But it's not, when you've got people just kind of slamming it out the door, it doesn't fill me with hope. So
You can do what I do, Kirk, and just keep on looking at reviews until someone says it's good.
you just need that one person to say, "This is a good game." Right, sold.
Absolutely. That's the way.
To be fair, Kirk, as well, I mean, you could always buy it and then frame it if it doesn't go well.
Nice.
Yeah,
That is an
I mean, what's the fucking point in doing that if no one's going to be buying it in the
no
first
one's
place?
A monument
There'll be
to a
someone.
mistake.
There'll be someone.
Yeah,
But
maybe
even
devs.
there are some big games at the start of the year that even have been forgotten. Like I forgot that Pokemon Arceus was
Wait, that was this year?
this year as well. Like that was right in January.
that was
and
January.
I loved that. I absolutely loved it. And yeah, that kind of gets lost in all this just because of, I feel like the delays. As you say, the delays are the thing that kind of sticks in the mind.
All right, so let's take a different tack for a second and let's go then. And we'll just go round each of us with one of them. What's been your highlight game so far this year? And just because I know what Ben's going to say, I'm not going to say Elden Ring.
I wasn't going to say Elden Ring.
Oh, then I'll take it. Elden Ring it is. There we go. Go on, Ben. You can follow then.
Mine was Endling.
Oh, wow, yeah. Fair. Eddie?
I didn't know we were meant to bring one to the table.
Just have a think.
It's just a question.
So, fuck you, first of all. I would say Elden Ring, only because I've never played a Souls game before. And obviously all you boys have been trying to force me to play one for many
Since our
years.
first episode. Yes.
So I was going into that game thinking, I really hope this is shit so I can raid on the guys for the rest of my life. But it was fucking phenomenal. So yeah, I would definitely say that's my highlight of the year.
Okay. Kirk?
Tunic. Fucking love that game.
yes.
Yeah, Kirk,
Yeah.
I've got that on my list of games to.
Really,
We're gonna have to
really,
play
that was-
we're gonna have to play that for Game of the Year, aren't
We
we?
are.
That was
It's
a
gonna be-
diamond in the
Yeah,
rough,
yeah,
and loved it.
have to play that game.
And Lyle, what about you? Do you have one standout?
It changes every day, I'm not going to lie, but for right now, this very moment, I'm going to say, and this might end up being a very minor spoiler for the God is a Geek Game of the Year podcasts that happen towards the end.
We got an exclusive.
You might
We
get
got an
all change,
have an
it can all change.
exclusive of a game that I will say nice things about at that time of year, and that is Neon White.
Oh, okay.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard great things about that game. I've heard fantastic things about it.
It's really, really good. It's just it's such a the gameplay is just so like it absorbs you. It's like sort of speed running first person parkour, but it just all works really well
I've
together.
heard it's got a great loop,
It does.
like gameplay loop, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So, yeah.
I have been toying about getting it on the Steam Deck.
Yeah, that's
so,
where I've played
yeah.
it.
Yeah,
he's already bought it then. That's
Yeah,
that's
I'm
enough
buying
for him. Yeah. But this is the thing. I've been following it for a little while because it's one of the few things I've seen with a 10 out of 10 on Steam. Like, that's
yeah, people love it.
not even a decimal
Absolutely.
place dropped so far.
I think it's genuinely in the Game of the Year discussion from what I've been what I'm hearing from podcasts talking about this.
Yes, indeed. Well, it's definitely in a few already. But I suppose the interesting bit for me there is at least three of us there went for indies. Theoretically indies, anyway.
I mean,
despite there being some big games this year.
Yeah. The other two both went for Elden Ring, which will obviously also feature in Game of the Year
Well,
discussions.
to be honest with you, I was going to go with Cat Cafe Manager, but I know all of you would have rated me, so fuck you.
Oh my, what was the bear one? What's the bear one?
Bear and Breakfast.
Yeah, the bear
Yes.
one.
Bear and
I
Breakfast,
do want to
yeah.
play that one.
Oh,
I do want to play that before Game of the Year, obviously.
Yeah, that looked brilliant as well.
But this is the thing. I mean, we've given a list of a lot of the AAAs, but I do think the indies have massively stepped up this year.
Yeah, I think I reviewed Weird West, plug YouTube, and that was phenomenal. Really, really liked that game. And that's going to be in my top 3 of Game of the Year, I think. So
That's also on Game Pass as well, isn't it?
It is.
Which is
Go play it, baby.
fantastic.
And
Stray was good as well.
Stray, which is definitely an Andy, not an indie, but yes,
Yeah.
Stray, fantastic. Cult of the Lamb, I know, Ben, you've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cult of the Lamb is... I've now finished that. I mean, we talked about it last week. It's good. Pretty good.
I really liked it.
I know
It's amazing.
Lyle's here, and I've heard what he thinks about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
go
think
on.
it's good. It's a good game.
Yeah,
It's a good game.
I'm a really big fan, but I think we have different things that we find in video games. If I'm going to be polite, I think we have different tastes, and
Can you please say that in an impolite way?
Okay. Well, I just think he's a.
You don't know what you're talking about.
He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's got no legitimacy, and he's a twat.
Fantastic, thank you. That's what I wanted to
I mean,
hear.
all of those are very, very fair comments.
right,
Yeah,
Ben,
very
you've had your insult. There's 3 more to go now.
That's great. One down, and I was first.
Yeah. Oh, perfect. And I suppose I would also throw in there things like Keplerth, by the way, which, while I'm not going to put it in Game of the Year contenders, great fun.
I reckon, I
fun.
still haven't played it, but I reckon I'm going to put that on my Game of the Year.
I could see it.
That's how optimistic I am about that game. You know what? I'm even leaving it to the end, so I have recency bias as well.
I do think that, I mean, admittedly, I think we're 2 of about 14 people who know about that game at this point. But it's better than you think. Check it out. Keplerth. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But as I mentioned before, when you said what was the highlight of your year so far, Endling was an indie like no other that I've played. Like the emotive kind of storytelling there, I thought was absolutely sublime.
That's still on my list to play, and that will be my next game that I play, I think.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I kind of want you to play it because I want you to tell me whether I'm right or not, because I don't know whether I've just fallen in love with it and I've built so much about it, even though it's such a short experience and everything.
You know what you should do is you play Kirk plays Endling the same week as you play Tunic.
Oh, the Fox, so we can play Fox games. I mean, yeah, okay.
I mean, not
Then
really.
you need to play at some point because it's Game of the Year contender.
It's true.
So
It's true. I need to play at some point to get out of the way. Yeah.
Let's get out. Oh, dude, come on.
get out of the way.
No, I'll play it, Kurt. If you play Endling, I'll
Yeah.
play Tunic. Give it. I'll complete it. I'll give it its run.
Okay.
Interesting.
Thanks.
Have you played it, Lyle?
Have you?
Tunic. I wasn't a big fan. I'm sorry, everybody.
Yeah,
Fucking hell,
More
Lyle.
back up to Ben not knowing what he's talking about. Love it.
Yes. Fuck you, Ben.
Have you played Endling at all? Or have you even heard of it?
I have heard of Endling. I haven't played Endling. I almost reviewed Endling, but I think someone else snatched it up first for the site. But it's one that after hearing how it was talked about on your recent podcast a couple of weeks ago or whatever, I do think I'll probably have to check it out, try and check it out before the end of the year, because it sounds interesting. I've got to admit.
I have a feeling that
I was going to say it takes.
that we're going to get inundated. Oh, you go, Eddie. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say it takes Ben a lot to praise a game that much. So I'm really looking forward to playing it.
And feel feelings as
looking-
well. That's the
I'm
other
looking
thing.
forward to people playing it, but I'm also like, I don't want people to say it's not good.
Well,
Look forward to Game of
Wow.
the Year, Ben. Look forward to the Game of the Year.
when
Because
I've
you have not come out of any of them looking good.
Yeah, but
I
Pete,
know.
in his defence, me and you are so fucking tactical that even if we think it's a gem, we'll shred it to pieces when it's against our games.
And yet somehow we let Pokemon Red and Blue win the best RPG of all
It's the
time.
best RPG of
There
all
we go.
time.
It's the-
Pokemon
it's
is the best RPG of all time.
It was objectively decided. So.
Right. Yes. Okay. Good. Glad I brought that back up.
my
And,
life.
I know. Sorry, Lyle. I think you were trying to say something more useful.
Oh, I don't know. I don't think anything could be more useful than that. I guess if we've decided that Pokemon Red and Blue are the best RPGs of all time,
It is.
that's it. I can't argue.
It's been established.
I'm glad you're on board. Okay, I mean, I'm not on board still, but I'm glad you're on board. And I suppose, actually, that does bring us on to the one other bit of games where, Ben, you've noted down there was some success with Japanese games.
I didn't know that down.
No, who did?
I noted that down.
Oh,
Thank you.
wow.
You
He has
added
access
to our doc.
doc.
I love it.
Who gave
just
him
assumed.
access?
I hacked
He
into the
assumed that I'd just
mainframe.
gone rogue, but no.
Fair enough. Go on. Tell us more. Tell us
Yeah.
more.
So not necessarily the games that I hear hugely praised from this show because you're all tasteless swines. But yeah,
Got all four of us.
there've been a lot of games that I've really enjoyed that are very JRPG or visual novel heavy. That I tend to cover games like. There was Atelier Sophie 2 at the start of the year that a lot of people liked. I can try and say the full name of AI The Somnium Files Nirvana Initiative.
Yes.
But that was a really interesting, weird game with such things as a quiz show presenter with a cube for a head that was never explained. They're very weird. They're probably quite niche, but I think for people who enjoy the Japanese side of video games, the visual novels and the JRPGs, there has been a lot to there's been a lot to indulge on. So yeah, for those people, it probably has been a good year. And I mean, I guess I am at least partially one of them. Not to spoil the answer to the big question.
But to be honest, when we go through our new releases each week, there's always like
Absolutely.
Eddie. How many times in the
Yeah.
last few weeks have we said, even back to when we were talking about Infinite Bright Memory, where we're like, "Whoa, this looks amazing," and it's just some kind of like Asian shooter.
Absolutely,
It just looks
there have
amazing.
been so many games, and I'm struggling to find a list before this podcast of games that like proper indie games that every single week there's probably 2 or 3 that I go, that looks bloody good. That looks bloody good. I mean, obviously they never get the respect they deserve unless they diamond in the rough. But yeah, absolutely. That's what I like about. I don't really care about the big AAA releases. I like because at the end of the day, even the best games only keep me for probably 4 weeks. So I like lots of good games, so that maybe every other week I start a new game, I have a joy for 2 weeks, and then move on to the next one. And I think I'm an optimist, but I think this year's had me for that.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
you're
to
not
spoil the ending. Yeah.
you're not a AAA enthusiast. I mean, when
I'm not an
Cyberpunk came out-
expensive game enthusiast.
No, Pete and I made. The problem was you never buy games at full price, and when Cyberpunk came out, Pete and I said you have to buy it because we're
fuck
talking about
me.
the pod. We'll all start a different starting story. It'll be amazing. Do that, and it soured everything, didn't it?
I've bought 3 games more than £50. One was Cyberpunk, which was obviously the biggest fucking disappointment of my life. The next one was Battlefield,
I
which
thought that was the
as we know,
biggest one.
wasn't
And it was 70 quid.
world-class. But to be fair, then the third one was Elden Ring. So, that's a good 33% chance.
And hey, Cyberpunk's still a good game. You just had to get
It is
past
a
the
good
fairy graphics.
Everyone was made of fur. I can't play a game like that.
Then yet you want to play Cat Cafe Manager? Come on,
Because that
be
is a Game of the
consistent.
Year contender, and we all have to now play it.
Right. Okay. So, I mean, we've already kind of spoiled the ending twice here, but I suppose we should probably put this year in context a little bit as well, shouldn't we? Because if Ben and I are going to frame this as has this been a bad year for gaming, we should probably take a moment to talk about last year to start with, where, and we all know my feelings on this, it takes 2 won Game of the Year.
Don't be a bitch.
Oh, Kurt, come on, man.
It Takes Two was my number 2 last year. I thought that was great.
Oh,
yeah. There you go.
I don't think there's any argument that it wasn't a good. Like, I played some of it as well, and it's good. And Andy, you played it as well, and it's like.
And I
but
did
if you look at the
praise
game
it,
of the year, if I just look at the game of the year nominees, I've got them up here. We got It Takes Two, which you talked about. We got Metroid Dread, good game. We've got Ratchet and Clank. We got Deathloop. Okay, Psychonauts 2. Yeah, that was pretty good. Resident Evil Village. Jesus Christ. It's last year wasn't great in my opinion for my taste.
Yeah, and I mean, you had a couple of standouts. You had The Ascent. You had Valheim.
Oh,
yeah.
Both great games. Both great
The
games.
Ascent and Valheim. Yeah,
both indies carrying it along once again.
absolute stunner. The Ascent. But what's your feelings on last year, Kurt? What did you think in terms of how strong it was? Because you liked It Takes Two.
I liked It Takes Two, but you just put me on the fucking spot. And like to your comment earlier where you said people's memories are really short. I can't fucking remember anything from last year.
So Resident Evil Village.
Oh, dude,
played that.
Village I touched this year, didn't I? That wasn't last year.
But it was out last year.
I guess. Yeah, okay. I guess. Well, no, I liked it for the best part of 5 minutes, and then I was like, "What is going on?" And then. I mean, we've spoken about this at length, and it was dog shit. That's all I need to say.
Yeah. I'm sure there'll be somebody else here who's got a different opinion, though. A more refined gaming taste,
more cultured.
More cultured.
I really liked last year, but I didn't it was games that weren't the heavy hit. I mean, Psychonauts 2, I think, on my actual Game of the Year list, I picked as my Game of the Year. I adored that first game. Like, I remember getting it the week it released as a wee little teenager and falling in love. And, I thought the sequel sort of really stood up to it. And I think, again, a lot of my picks for last year in terms of like my official Game of the Year list that you can find at godisgeek.com. Just, if you've got your search engine at the ready. I had things like, I had New Pokemon Snap, I had The Forgotten City, I had Dodgeball Academia. It was a lot of fairly smaller, lesser known titles. There was a lot of indies on there, but there always is. So it's kind of hard to. I mean, I guess last year more than most years there were less AAA games on that list because usually there's quite a few, and there were definitely less. I can 100% confirm that. I can see if that's your jam. Maybe 2021 wasn't for you, but yeah, it was fine for me. I mean, it's kind of unfortunate because I've got a really broad taste in games. I shouldn't really be on a podcast called Grumpy Gamers, to be honest.
I mean, I was thinking here, our last guest was Boxenberger, and I do come out of both like this already and that one going, is it just that we need to be more positive?
We're called Grumpy Gamers. What do you want?
That's it. We do what we say on the tin, I suppose. Yeah, that is true.
Fair.
Well, Metroid Dread was a classic last year. I loved that. I thought it was awesome.
But you do overuse the word classic, but I mean...
There was one good game there. What I think is, like, they weren't bad games. Like, being flippant, very, very flippant. Like, the Game of the Year list that you could put together would contain really good games. It was just missing that. It's not even a AAA. Like, it's not like, because I'm not even looking forward that much to God of War. Like, it's not. I don't need that level. Everything was just a bit meh. Everything was just that level below, in my opinion, last year.
Yeah, I also think there were a lot of games that I think disappointed last year because I think Resident Evil Village disappointed to a fucking huge degree. I thought that game was pretty fucking shit.
Friends. Yes, you're amongst friends.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What else disappointed? Like, I think Ratchet and Clank. I think people were expecting that to be this blow away like reason to own the PS5, and it was like all the other Ratchet and Clank games, which I really liked back in the day. But it wasn't innovative and amazing, and you have to play it. Like, I think last year was sort of a story of a lot of games that were either disappointing, and then there were more divisive ones. Some people really loved Deathloop that I know of, and I was sort of like, yeah, it's quite good. Like, I'm not really clicking with it, but it seems good. Like, I think maybe last year was more of the big games are kind of disappointing or don't click with me than like necessarily outright terrible, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good point about Deathloop as well, because when I was playing it, I was like, well, this is really polished and it does look really well put together and it does feel really good, but was evidently it had that Bethesda kind of. It felt so Bethesda, and there was something about it all that kind of just didn't click, put me off a little bit, and I didn't gel with it. Despite going, I know this is a good game.
Yeah, totally.
But I just can't. I can't. It's not for me. There were a few of those. I think you're right, and even Ratchet and Clank, like, played it, finished it. Yep. Okay. If that's on the Game of the Year list, it's like, oh, right, okay, well, and then even when you look outside to something that you loved, Kirk, Forza. Forza, when that was that, and like, I can't imagine. People were saying, why isn't that in the Game of the Year contention? Because it was Metacritic score and all this kind of stuff. I can't imagine a game like that even being in the Game of the Year conversation, because it's an enjoyable kind of romp, but it's purposeless.
I think
it's
I think for me, Forza, because the Forza Horizon game before that was set in the UK as well and had so much more familiarity, I found number 5 kind of hard to get as excited about. Instead of like, oh my god, I'm in a dry stone wall in Yorkshire, this is kind of like a place I know. Like, it felt a bit more exciting.
Yes.
It really got me into the Forza Horizon games, and then I tried to play this one and I was like, I mean, it's sort of more of the same, not as thrilled.
Do you know what, Lyle? I'm exactly the same. I played the shit out of Forza Horizon 4, and and as much as I love the visuals and just the gameplay loop of 5, I didn't play it much longer than opening week because I just fell off, and I would quite happily just pick up Forza 4 and just carry on playing. In fact, I even touched Forza 4 after playing 5. So I think it's because that reason. It's that familiarity. Oh, damn, I didn't say the word properly, did I? You understand what I mean.
It was the pause to gather yourself and re-say it, and then still...
No, I'm fucking it up again.
I've got to speak. This is why I don't come on the podcast anymore.
This is why we don't let them do the new releases anymore.
Yes, oh god, that was a...
But anyway, you get my point. It's I do agree with you, Ben. It isn't a Game of the Year kind of game. I think I've come round to the whole purposeless kind of moniker that you've put on it. So
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying you can't waste. Oh, not waste. Waste is the wrong word.
I know what you mean.
You can't play it for a million hours and have a great time with it. Yeah, absolutely. I can get that with Forza. And when I started playing it, like I really wanted a game that I could just do that with, and it served that purpose. But it did much change between 4 and 5 in terms of gameplay loop at all, because I didn't play 4. So if anything, like, was there any? If you're enjoying 4 and you're enjoying the setting, is there any reason to play 5?
I'd say it was very much the same, to be honest with you. They just kind of like doubled down on all of the kind of events and just this sheer amount that you could do. But other than that, no, it's just the setting was just a big change. So
great,
yeah.
Wow.
And that's why it wasn't Game of the Year.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. All right. So I suppose we've debated a fair few games here, and I do want to get us onto our verdicts because I feel there's going to be a fair bit of back and forth there. But I'm going to set a little bit of context first, and the first of that is just a quick mention to 2020, where we had games like Last of Us 2, Hades, Cyberpunk, Ghost of Tsushima in there. 2019, also in the pandemic, Control, Death Stranding, Resi 2, Sekiro, Outer Worlds. And then I'm going to put it in perspective against the last console release, because we're now in the second year after the release. And the second year after the release of the last gen was 2015. And we've talked about this before, but that's the year with Bloodborne, Witcher 3, Fallout 4, Metal Gear Solid 5, Ori and the Blind Forest, and about a million other things that were amazing.
Rocket League.
Yeah.
Oh, do not
my
forget
God.
How
could
Jesus,
I?
What
Shovel
a year,
Knight?
That year.
Oh, yeah. What?
Jesus,
That's a
that
banging
year.
year.
Wow. That 2015 was the year that everything should be held up against, isn't it?
That's it, and that's why I bring it into the question. Because
If you want to be disappointed, yeah.
Ever since 2015, I am disappointed. That's my point, Eddie. That is literally my point. I even think one of the Total War Warhammers came out in that year as well. So obviously,
yeah, probably.
I think it probably was the first one, but I can't remember for sure.
I mean, if we just look at just what you've said there, I mean, one thing sticks out, that it's only every couple of years that you do get a game that really stands head and shoulders above the rest, in my opinion. I mean, Last of Us 2 and Hades was a great battle, and we enjoyed.
Hades is
I enjoyed
phenomenal.
Last of Us 2. Hades is absolutely phenomenal. And we were debating that, but you know, Last of Us 2 is the AAA kind of standout, and then but going back there, it's 2019. you talk about Control being in the mix, and Sekiro actually won that in the Keighley Game of the Year. You're like, wow, that's mental. You got Resident Evil 2 in that, and you got Outer Worlds got in the. I mean, it's just it. So that's not particularly strong. It's and then you have to actually go back to the God of War 2018. You have to go back to like Spider-Man and stuff like that to get these real standout AAAs. They don't happen very often.
They're not as common as we like to think. But I suppose my point with 2019, Ben, was in the middle of the pandemic. No, it wasn't. That was the very beginning of it.
No, I was going to correct you.
I'm aging myself even more.
2020
honestly,
March. That was pandemic.
That's it. So actually, there's no excuse for that. But there we go.
That was a bad year.
So, but it does. In any case, this all gives us a bit more context to sort of compare it against other years and come out with that verdict of ours, which is: have you been disappointed in this? And I feel that's a pretty personal question. I feel that Lyle's going to be there saying, no, it's absolutely fine. Am I right?
Yep, you're pretty much spot on there. I've been totally fine. I love games this year. I've got all my indies, all my Japanese games, a few AAAs to mix it up. Like
Lyle's eating good.
I'm eating good. Lyle always eats first, and I've had a good year for eating. Don't you worry.
I feel vaguely intimidated by that whole statement. But okay, right. That does set us up. I suppose we should come to Ben, because you're the one who framed the question the way you did at the beginning anyway.
So I framed the question like this because I have seen that it's been talked about, and I'm not saying that people have been negative all the time or anything like that, but I think a lot of YouTubers, it's been mentioned a lot, especially with the days coming thick and fast. I think through discussing and actually taking the time to look at this stuff, I got to say, before I would have probably said, yeah, I suppose I am a bit disappointed. But actually, you look at what has come out, especially in that February, and what's come out recently, and we talk about the indies. The indies have really stepped up. I loved Stray. I did like Cult of the Lamb. It's like that Endling, fantastic. Sifu at the start of the year, which I then completed when it got in easy mode. It's like they're good fucking games, and I know we've got the big hitting exclusives, especially the Xbox ones being pushed, but we have a hell of a lot of good stuff still yet to come. It's when you compare it like we just have to other years. Last year, we were buzzing that The Ascent won our Game of the Year. The Ascent.
You were.
This is a game that got like 7 out of 10 for most people.
Yeah, I didn't bother playing it.
Yeah.
Lyle hasn't played it. Lyle hasn't played. Kirk, did you even give it a...
I did give it a whirl, yeah, because we...
I think you had to, because we told him you had to.
Yeah, and it's just twin stick shooters are just not my thing, man. And I mean, this all came off the back of it was like the cyberpunk kind of setting, wasn't it? And as much as I loved 2077, the kind of way that the Ascent was built around it wasn't for me.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's fair enough. But that's what I mean. Like, we had such a divisive kind of game winning our Game of the Year. Last year was kind of poor. I think you have to be saying that this year is stellar in comparison to last year, in my opinion. It's fucking stellar. Like,
if not just because of February.
If not just because of February, yeah. I mean, but we do have God of War to come, and though I repeatedly say that I'm not really pumped for it, I will be buying it, playing it. You know, it'll be a day one, and I'm sure I'll love it. But it's the year will be bookended with these February and God of War coming at the end.
Yeah,
if it comes.
If it comes, but even if it doesn't come, though, I'd be turning my attention to Callisto Protocol or something.
Yeah, that's December, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'll be saying, Kirk, have you played that game yet? Because you've got previous for not giving these games time.
Dude, it's not Dead Space, okay? It's not a game that I'm having to go back. When did Dead Space originally come out?
Let's not get back onto this.
It's fucking timeless, Kirk.
It's not timeless at all. It does. The first one's not aged well. Fuck that game.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Handbags at dawn once again when we get onto this. I suppose, given your amazing flip-flop there, Ben, we should probably move on to someone more consistent and ask Kirk if he thinks it's been a good year.
I'm not consistent, and you know that.
I know,
so.
That's why I
The thing is, I haven't played anywhere near as much as I'd like to have, but going based on like the communities online, going based on what you guys have been feeding back in the pod and stuff like that, I think this year has had quite a few merits overall, And again, I would say not least because of February, but there have been each month there has been something. Like March had GT7. I know that had its issues, but it's still a game which people thoroughly enjoyed. That Tunic came out then as well, which obviously I loved. And then you got things like the like Cuphead DLC, which has been in the making for bloody years.
True.
It's all these kind of like things that again we've said that get forgotten about because of the whole. Because of our short-term memory and I think time is like just fucked as well because of the pandemic. So I think it's doubly worse now more than ever, you know. But I would say I wouldn't say it's a banger year, but it's certainly it's not been a shit year, and we've still got a few months left yet.
Very fair. Well, that was actually quite balanced, Kirk. I like it. That was good.
Thanks, mate.
That's good, especially for someone who barely plays games. That was awesome.
I know.
Very diplomatic as well.
And I suppose we should ask you next.
All right, thanks, mate. You know what? I'm glad actually Kirk went before me because I've kind of got to say the same thing, and you probably would have called Kirk a cheat for just copying off me. But I've looked at it not what my personal interests are because I have a very niche interest in games. Basically anything under £5, but you know, there's been something for everyone. Like everyone who loves their there's been a God. Well, there will be a God of War. There's been a Warhammer Total War, Dying Light, GT. There's been Pokemon's, Xenoblade. There's a Splatoon, even though I don't give a fuck. You know, Saints Row. There's even that Rainbow Six
Extraction.
Yeah, Extraction. Yeah. I like that.
There was a Dynasty Warriors game, Dynasty Warrior Empires 8 billion or whatever it is.
Yeah, that was bad.
Assassin's Creed, Horizon Forbidden West. There was that Borderlands
Ghostwire as well.
spin-off that I couldn't
Tiny
stand.
Tina's.
Tiny Tina's. You know, like I hate 90% of the games I've just read out there, but you know, like a lot of people have been waiting like a couple of years for their next game to come, and this year's had it. They all haven't knocked it out of the park, but we have had really good games. That Elden Ring, for example, has been fantastic. And for more people like me, there's been loads of decent indies. Not world-class indies like Valheim or The Ascent, like last year, but there's been loads of really, really good ones. Ones that I've really enjoyed. I wish the delays hadn't fucked up this year so much, and I really, really pray that the delay culture that we have now might change next year because the pandemic or whatever. And I hope people just start giving us realistic release dates. But I feel like if the games that were delayed until next year, you know, Harry Potter, whatever it was, and Starfield, if those two came out this year, I think we could be talking that this game is one of the best years. Because there's 3 huge ones and there's loads of good games coming out. So I am going to say, I'm disappointed personally, but no, I do not think this has been a bad year of gaming. I think it's been slightly above average.
I think that's a good way to put it, Eddie. Like that.
Yeah, that's again remarkably balanced for someone usually prone to rants and vitriol.
I didn't expect it, you know, because Eddie has repeatedly said that every year in gaming sucks after like 2015.
Yeah, and if you catch me in a different mood, then yeah, and I've had a couple of beers, I'll tell you about how shit this year of gaming has been. But no,
you often rant. Yeah,
it's because you've got to look at it for the people.
You're a man of the people.
I'm a man of the people. What do you want?
Right. Okay. Oh, God. And I
You
suppose
are far from it.
Thank you for saying that. I suppose I should round this off because it sounds like we're all leaning in the same direction by saying, so far no, but my year is pretty much defined by a release tomorrow. Anyone listening, it'll be a day ago. It's the Immortal Empires map for Warhammer Total War 3.
Oh yeah.
Which drops tomorrow on the 23rd, and really that's going to sum up my year because that's the game I've wanted to play the most, and it's the one I'll definitely put the most hours into. So it's going to say a hell of a lot. But tying into this and a bit of hypocrisy, I think overall it's definitely not been disappointing, has it? Like when you actually take the time to look at it and not focus on what you've seen in videos or reactions, there's a lot of good stuff.
I think it's all about timing. It's all about timing. That Elden Ring, if Elden Ring had been towards the end of the year, I think people would be talking about this being incredible, one of the best years in gaming, I think. And just to follow on for what you just said there, Pete, if the Immortal Empire's like update for Total War isn't good, you're going to be fucking insufferable.
Oh, you have no idea.
This is the beauty of them releasing that game. They released that, and loads of people said how good the story is. I think a lot of diehard Total War Warhammer fans like myself and Pete said the complete fucking opposite. But it's not going to fail, because it's just a bigger map of a game that we all already love. It's not going to fail.
And without a forced mechanic. And the thing is as well, it brings me back to something I want to go on to here, which is manage your expectations. I'm expecting it to be buggy. I'm expecting performance issues, and I'm expecting my laptop to turn into a 1500 potato.
Oh, it's going to be a hot one, yeah.
Yeah, I'm expecting scars on my legs from the level of heat this thing's going to have to put out just to keep it going. But go on.
I was just going to say, it's completely off topic, but we've totally forgotten about High on Life.
Yeah, that's just been delayed. But
it's only to the 12th of December, but that's a game I'm quite excited for.
I
was alluding to that earlier, Kurt, but I just forgot the name. So yeah, good bringing it up.
Yeah, I'm really quite pumped for that one. So
yeah, that one looks quite good, and you're a big Rick and Morty fan, aren't you?
Yeah, man. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, same.
That is. So I suppose if we're not saying that 2022 is disappointing, there are a few things we can take from this. Lyle, you raised a good one that for Xbox at least, it's been a bit of a bad year.
Yeah, they haven't done great in the race to the top, I guess. The exclusives especially have been a little bit dry. I mean, Game Pass has definitely saved them, and if you just had an Xbox and Game Pass and nothing else in terms of like what to play with, and no other funds to get anything else or whatever, you'd still probably have enough to play. You'd still probably be more than happy because there's just loads of stuff on Game Pass all the time. But yeah, in terms of for someone like me who has all the consoles, because I sort of have to have all the consoles, like the Xbox, there's the least reason to turn it on. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yes.
Yeah. I think you make a good point there, because when we talk about this, and especially my view on this has always been, I look at all the games because I have all the consoles. But you're absolutely right. Most people have, I assume most people have a singular console.
I've only got
at least
one.
At least a singular Xbox and PlayStation, like you guys do as well.
Yeah.
And in that case, like you could very easily make the case that with Xbox, you could be very disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
You could be very disappointed. And if you're on the PlayStation side, you are getting a little bit more on that, but then you haven't had as good a subscription service. So, and the one in the background is Nintendo have just been chugging along.
I feel like Nintendo have pumped out like one pretty big game about every month, I feel like, alongside the indies as well. Like, I feel like Nintendo have been very consistent this year. I think a lot of people who have access to all the consoles have been very Nintendo focused with like, it's this month, it's this month, this month. Like, especially if they like, the lengthy JRPGs like, your Xenoblades, your Live Alives, all those sorts of things.
Yes, yeah. They've been doing that, and Splatoon is going to be a massive. It's
going to be huge
next month, and then there's going to be a new Pokemon. I mean, that's fantastic.
2 Pokemons in 1 year.
I'm ecstatic over that. Yeah, absolutely. That Nintendo have done. I mean, apart from those fucking sports games, which
Strikers, you love Strikers, don't you?
I think they are really. They're really getting close to taking the serious piss. But apart from those games, like they have done some absolute bangers. So Nintendo are ticking along really nicely.
And I suppose, and if we bring Sony into it as well, I don't think it's been amazing for them. But I think as part of a larger thing, the third parties and the indies, on Sony especially, have been amazing. Like, that's gone well. Stray obviously being the standout for me.
I feel like we always end up saying this. Like, it's every... I think last year, the 2 games I was excited about was Battlefield and something else. And then the 2 indies that came out of nowhere were fucking stunning. I think the year before, I was really excited for the next Total War game and Cyberpunk. Obviously, both let me down. And then there was Wasteland 3 and then Hades. Every year, it's always the indies that steal my heart. Sorry to put it so romantically there.
Was that Ripples chiming in?
Agreeing, exactly, yeah.
That was Rips just agreeing with Eddie in the background.
Thank you. Yeah.
Fantastic. So I suppose, well, go on then. What are we leaving for our final verdict then, guys? It's been a good year. Buck up. Is that what we're going for?
Yeah, I think so. Just calm down with your negativity, guys. We don't need to be grumpy gamers anymore. We can be positive, happy gamers, and we can be happy with the games we've got and just calm down, chill out.
But it needs to be a G, so then it's GG. So
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah, it's kind of the
We're not
it's kind of the
rebranding.
brand,
I'm not
it's kind of-
we can't
rebranding. Fuck
rebrand.
that.
Kirk's
We
not going through that effort.
I am not doing that. Happy gamers, fuck that.
So we've got to kind of keep. But I do think it's a good point though that I think it's timing. I think that's the thing here. But actually, I think we've been spoiled this year. I think it's actually really, really good.
No, I totally agree. I
made the question. I made the question just to be emotive and so that I can have a good episode title. So
Fair enough. Well, if they are disappointed by this year, they're probably disappointed by this podcast as well. Then, but I feel we should probably round it off there. So I suppose first things first, say a massive thank you to Lyle from all of us
Thanks, mate.
for joining us and being incredibly positive and making us less grumpy. I'm not sure I should be thanking you for that, but
Probably not.
We are where we are. And after that, we should probably say, Ben, how do people find us?
they can email us, podcast@grumpygamers.co.uk. You can tweet us at grumpygamerspod. We're on YouTube, Grumpy Gamers Podcast, and as we said earlier, we're streaming Thursday 7 p.m. Grumpy Gamers Podcast on Twitch. I'd just like to say at this point, did Lyle insult everyone?
I was thinking that, Ben. I think it was just you twice.
It was just
You
you.
He got all four of us at once with a
individually.
general.
That doesn't count,
yeah.
though. He literally called you a
Some
twat.
individual-
Literally
some
called you a
individual
twat.
Ones, so don't know about whether that was met or not. But yeah.
I'm perfectly
Don't
happy with it.
cut
To be
it
honest.
out.
The quota worked well. But I suppose there's still one more chance because we do have to go around and say GG.
Oh, have you said your GG?
That's mine.
That was it.
That was you said. That was your GG.
That was
okay,
the
I'll
tee-up,
say.
yeah.
All right, GG.
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 GG, you dickheads.